Today it's Friday and it's Venus's day, and I'm doing a Venus attunement. It's April 5th, 2024. So there have been a lot of Venus activations, astrologically speaking. On the 25th of March, we had an eclipse in Libra, which is ruled by Venus. Venus just had a conjunction with Neptune, and today she has moved into Aries, which is not one of her favorite places to be after her exaltation in Pisces, where she was for most of March. She is now in Aries, which is opposite of her domicile in Libra, so she's a bit debilitated by that aspect. And then there's going to be an eclipse in Aries coming up on the 8th, so I'm just trying to make an offering to Venus, form a bit of a connection, as I try to do most Fridays. However, it does seem to be a little more potent this particular week to try to connect with the Venusian energy. So on my altar, I have some things that are reminiscent of Venus. I printed out a photograph which has a Venus overlaid, a Venus square. It's the Botticelli birth of Venus. I have some shells which are reminiscent of her coming forth, arriving in a shell. I have a piece of gold chocolate coin, an incense, which is very like perfumey and sweet smelling. I put a couple of pieces of my makeup on the altar. This is a bit of copper, which is from like a kid's experiment. And Venus is associated with copper. There's a couple of pieces of jewelry, some shimmering rocks. There's some photos. There's some tickets from a carousel, which was very Venusian in nature, but also acquired on a very potent Venus retrograde that hit my own chart in a very specific way, which just produced this massively enjoyable day. And so I have some mementos from that day. I have just a piece of paper on which I wrote the Venus square. I can get started. So there's basically a candle that's involved, some incense. I am using some sphere and sundry materia, which was created during a very special Venus election. I also have these perfumes, also from Sphere and Sundry. I can link everything below. I do like to put a drop of the perfume in the candle, since I'm not a huge fan of wearing them. I found out I just don't like to exude any kind of smell. But I'll use them in the ritual baths, and I'll use them in candles. The other part of the Venus ritual is to recite the Orphic hymn to Venus, which I will be doing. Her particular hymn is pretty lengthy, and I'll try to get through it as best as I can. You could also recite a Venus mantra 108 times, which is Om Shukraya Namaha, or a variety of other mantras for Venus, which you can readily look up. So let's start with the Orphic hymn. Heavenly, illustrious, laughter-loving queen, sea-born, night-loving, of an awful mien, crafty from whom necessity first came, producing nightly, all-connecting dame. 'Tis thine the world with harmony to join, for all things spring from thee, O power divine. The triple fates are ruled by thy decree, and all productions yield alike to thee. Whether the heavens encircling all contain, earth fruit producing and the stormy main. Thy sway confess and obey thy nod, awful attendant of the brumal god, goddess of marriage, charming to the sight, mother of loves whom banquetings delight, source of persuasion, secret favoring queen, illustrious born, apparent and unseen. I really like that, apparent and unseen. It's just makes me think a lot about the forces of beauty and awe in our lives, and how we often react to them in ways that are not easily explained. So it's almost like the Venusian presence in our lives is kind of ephemeral, but we know of its presence because we have these very strong emotions and feelings that come up. Okay, moving on. Spousal, leperical, and to men inclined, prolific, most desired, life-giving, kind, great sceptre bearer of the gods, this thine, mortals in necessary bands to join, and every tribe of savage monster dire, in magic chains to bind through mad desire. Come, Cyprus born, and to my prayer incline, whether exalted in the heavens you shine, or pleased in Syria's temple to preside, or over the Egyptian plains thy car to guide, fashioned of gold and near its sacred flood, fertile and famed to fix thy blessed abode, or if rejoicing in azure shores, near where the sea with foaming billows roars, the circling choir of mortals by delight, or beauteous nymphs with eyes cerulean bright, pleased by the dusty banks renowned of old, to drive thy rapid two-yoked car of gold, or if in Cyprus with thy mother fair, where married females praise thee every year, and beauteous virgins in the chorus join, Adonis pure to sing and thee divine. Come, all attractive to my prayer inclined, for thee I call with holy reverend mind. So that is quite a lengthy and perhaps a Baroque description of all that Venus is and all that Venus does, and kind of reminds me of Pushkin poetry, which is very descriptive, very dramatic. So I'm going to pour a little libation. I have some cognac. Venus, to you and your works. So now it's just a good time to connect with the altar, connect with the energies. If you have the ability to leave the candle burning until the end, that's great. Obviously, don't leave any fires unattended. The best way to put out a candle is to smother it instead of blowing it out. So just putting a cup over it or something like that. This is also a good time to recite the mantra, to put on any Venus materia on yourself, to do your makeup, to do your beauty routine, an act of self-care. I was also told by a Vedic astrologer about my own Venus placement, which is conjunct Rahu, which is a large debility, and part of what it does is it obscures the self-esteem, because Venus has a lot to do with values and valuables, and not only external sort of jewels and money and cars that we may want or we may have, but also the intrinsic value that we place on ourselves and on our relationships. And so having a malefic such as Rahu influencing Venus can lead to a lot of insecurity and self-worth issues. And so he told me, as a remediation, which I think that just connecting with Venus is already a step in the right direction. But another remediation he told me to do is to donate milk, specifically on Fridays, to charities. Now, I was really confused when I heard this because I didn't know who would take like a perishable product, but it can be any sort of like condensed or canned or powdered, even like baby formula, any kind of things like that, which are milk-based products. Donating those on Fridays is supposed to bonify Venus if there's, especially if there's an issue in the birth chart with Venus, like a harsh conjunction, like a square from a malefic, or an opposition like Saturn or Mars, or if she's in an unfortunate house like a 12th house, or if she's in your 8th house, things like that. So there are just like exercising at the gym, or any other practices that you might do to better yourself. You can also better the connections with planets in your birth chart, especially if they are troubled in some way, debilitated in some way. Just making that connection with the archetype can go a long way. Okay, thanks for watching.